how did the idea come to life in good English? Would that be to write a book about the Eurovision Song Contest in the Netherlands, Dave?
There aren't so many books about the Eurovision Song Contest in the Netherlands. There was one other book, but it was very. The main focus was on the facts, and we want to write a book about the untold stories, the Dutch untold stories.
And were there many untold stories in the Netherlands?
40 years ago, it was the last moment that the Netherlands won the Eurovision Song Contest. So we have spoken with some people and made a reconstruction. We've told the story again. So that was one of the untold stories, and there was also the story about treble in Athens. There went a lot of wrong behind the scenes. That was one of the untold stories. And some other stories about Ben Kramer, 1973, many years ago.
The Netherlands is, we are all from the Netherlands, let's be specific about that, but we also have many Australian colleagues, Steve, they say the Netherlands is such an interesting Eurovision country in the last couple of 5 years because there's been such a major change in not only in the results, but the way the country seems to approach it. We're kind of an example maybe for other countries that are not doing so well right now.
I would say so. One main thing that I always like to look at is what do countries do not just on this particular year, but on the long-term strategy to work towards Eurovision success. In the Netherlands, there wasn't really a long-term strategy for a long time, and right now it seems that there is. Even though the way it came about, you can discuss about that for a long time. We have also on opinion articles and stuff like that. But there is a strategy now because of Anouk, who wanted to have it all to herself, that she could decide everything by herself, and that created the attitude in the Netherlands right now that there is a strategy that we just send in a big name and basically give them the freedom to use Eurovision as a stage. But the good thing about it is that it gives us the opportunity to send in our best artists, because in the Netherlands they don't just come to a pre-selection like in Sweden.
Yeah, and Dave Boomkens, in your book, written together with Richard van der Krommert, Dutch journalist, there is also a chapter about this untold story about Anouk actually at first being refused by the Dutch broadcaster.
Yes, exactly. The Dutch broadcaster had some plans for a national pre-selection like Melodifestivalen in Sweden. And then there was one moment in the whole process that Anouk said from, yes, I want to do Eurovision Song Contest. But the plans were, really...
they were far in the process already.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And then it took a while to convince everybody from within the organization as well to go ahead and go for this big name in the Netherlands. You spoke to some people who work also at the TROS. You can read that in the book. Were you surprised by the things they said?
Yes. In the chapter there's a story about the two sides within the TROS. There was one side...
side that didn't want... They wanted to stick to the game plan that they've started the year before with Joan Franca. And there was another camp I read in the book that said you definitely have to go for such a big name. Yeah. And that could be, Stefan Gorkum, the key moment that we see, and we will talk about that later on in this show, about many more countries that really go for the big names. They want to go sky high in the contest, as I said.
Yes, and then there's also another discussion, like what is the way to success? Because, for example, I know the German broadcaster, they've selected a very big name. It wasn't in the news bulletin, but they selected a very big name, and then they had to come back from that. And then the delegation later said that there's also a discussion going on in Germany whether big names is the way to go. Because, for example, in Germany, the Lena story is still very big with a new and up-and-coming name. But... yeah, it's interesting, and I think with every country you have to find out your own. Not every country is the same. Netherlands is not Melodifestivalen. No. Some people at the TROS wanted to have this pre-selection, like Dave just said, but some others realized that people like Anouk were never going to take part in a pre-selection like that.